Elias Ward never believed he was special. He didn't grow up with greatness, no medals, no heroic family name. He was a quiet mechanic from a forgotten mining colony, a place where people worked until their backs broke and their dreams dried up. He joined the Galactic Corps only because he wanted a better life, one with steady food, quiet nights, and engines to fix. Engines didn't judge him. Engines didn't expect greatness. Engines didn't care if you were ordinary. And Elias Ward was very ordinary. Which is why no one, absolutely no one, expected him to survive the radiation event. It happened on a calm shift, the kind of day where nothing should have gone wrong. Elias was alone in Reactor Bay 3, tightening coolant lines on a humming generator. The air smelled faintly of metal and warm plasma. The rhythmic thrum of the engine felt like a heartbeat under his palms. He liked these moments, quiet, predictable, safe. Then the alarms shattered everything. Red lights burst alive overhead. Sirens screamed through the engineering deck. The floor vibrated under his boots. Elias jerked his head up as the reactor temperature gauge spiked violently. Warning, the AI droned. Containment breach imminent. Elias froze. What, that can't be right. We reinforced the seals last week. Another spike, this one louder, more urgent. Core integrity failing, radiation levels rising. Elias felt fear stab through his chest. Come on, don't do this now, he muttered, running to the emergency console. His fingers flew across the screen. Override commands, coolant purge sequences, shutdown orders. Every command flashed back in angry red. Access DNID. Error. Failure. The voice of Chief Engineer Rollin came crackling through the comm. Ward, get out of there now. The breach can't be stopped. Elias looked at the sealed blast doors. They were already locked. Emergency protocol. Once the bay detected lethal radiation levels, it shut everything down, including exits. I can't, Elias shouted. Doors are sealed. Static, then Rollin again, voice shaking. Elias, I'm sorry. Before Elias could respond, the world exploded in white light. A shockwave slammed him backward. The generator tore open like a cracked egg, hurling coils, plates, and superheated plasma across the chamber. Elias hit the far wall so hard his vision blurred. His ears rang. Pain shot down his spine. The lights flickered. Then the radiation hit. Invisible, silent, deadly. The air thickened with heat. His skin prickled and burned. His lungs felt like they were filling with fire. He gasped, choking on air that tasted metallic and wrong. His knees buckled. He collapsed onto the grated floor, vision swimming. He knew the stories. Everyone did. High-level radiation didn't kill slowly. It didn't give you time to write messages or say goodbyes. It melted you from the inside out, turning bones into powder and organs into liquid. He was going to die here. Alone in the dark. Elias squeezed his eyes shut, waiting for the pain to swallow him whole. But then something strange happened. The pain faded. Not slowly. Instantly. His breathing steadied. The burning sensation vanished. The ringing in his ears softened until the only sound was his heartbeat, calm, steady, strong. He opened his eyes. He was still lying on the floor. But he wasn't dying. Not even close. He pushed himself up slowly. His limbs felt fine, his skin was unburned, his heartbeat steady, his vision clear. What, he whispered, what's happening to me? The reactor bay door suddenly hissed open. A squad of medics in full radiation suits rushed in, carrying scanners and emergency kits. They looked terrified, not because of danger, but because Elias was still breathing. One medic froze mid-step. No, this is impossible, she whispered. He should be dead. Another medic scanned him. The scanner beeped frantically, lights flashing red. Get this to the lab, the medic barked. Now. Elias tried to stand. Two medics grabbed him. Izzy, don't move. I'm fine, Elias said. Really, I feel normal. Normal, the lead medic hissed. You were just hit with enough radiation to melt a shuttle hull. They dragged him through the decontamination chamber and into the medical wing. His clothes were ripped away. Sensors attached to his skin. Monitors spiked and dipped wildly. Alien doctors whispered rapid, panicked words in languages Elias didn't understand. The head scientist, a four-eyed Vascan named Dr. Hesh, stormed in holding a tablet. "Where is the human?" Elias raised a hand weakly. Here." Hesh scanned him, eyes narrowing, mandibles twitching with disbelief. "This shouldn't be real," he muttered. "Human cells do not behave like this." Elias swallowed. Behave like what? Hesh activated the hologram above the table, a magnified view of Elias' DNA. The staff gasped. His DNA wasn't normal. Human DNA was supposed to form a simple double helix, clean, predictable. Elias' helix twisted into shapes the computer couldn't even classify. Branches, spirals, extra layers, a lattice of geometry that didn't belong in any known species. "Impossible DNA detected," the computer announced flatly. The room fell silent. Elias stared at the glowing strands with numb disbelief. That's inside me." Hesh looked at him with something between awe and fear. "Elias Ward," he said slowly, "you survived something no human, no creature, has ever survived. Your DNA adapted in real time to an event that should have killed you instantly." Elias blinked. "Adapted?" "Yes," Hesh leaned forward. "Your cells repaired themselves faster than they were being destroyed. You didn't resist the radiation." He paused. "You overpowered it." Elias felt cold. He wasn't special. He wasn't chosen. He was a mechanic from nowhere. Yet something inside him wasn't normal. A guard burst through the door, panting. "Doctor, we have a problem." Hesh snapped, "What now?" The guard's voice shook. "3 factions just sent messages. They know about the human. They're calling him a threat." Hesh's face hardened. "Of course they are." Elias swallowed. "What does that mean for me?" Hesh met his eyes. "It means the galaxy is coming for you." Elias felt his chest tighten. He didn't feel special. He didn't feel powerful. He felt like a target. And somewhere outside the station, across the cold stretch of stars, something began to move, something far bigger than he realized. The impossible had awakened. And now everyone wanted the human who acted like it was nothing. For the first time in his life, Elias Ward felt truly watched. Not by people. By the galaxy. After the reactor incident, he wasn't allowed to return to his workshop. He wasn't allowed to sleep in the crew quarters. He wasn't even allowed to walk around without an escort. Instead, the Galactic Core placed him in a secured observation room with transparent walls that felt more like a cage than a medical suite. Every passing minute, someone new arrived to stare at him. Doctors, scientists, high-ranking officers, and sometimes creatures he had never seen before. Their eyes all held the same thing: fear, as if Elias were a monster wearing human skin. He sat on the edge of a metal bed, head down, fingers tightly interlocked. His heart felt heavy, like a ship anchor dragging him deeper into uncertainty. "I didn't ask for any of this," he whispered to the empty room. The door hissed open. Dr. Hesh stepped in, carrying 3 datapads stacked on top of each other. His 4 eyes looked more exhausted than ever. "Elias, we need to talk." Elias let out a shaky breath. "Another test, another scan, another scary thing about my DNA." Hesh didn't smile. Worse. He tapped the datapad, displaying 3 holographic messages, each marked with the seals of different alien factions. "The Keth Collective," Hesh said, pointing to the first icon, "believes you are a biological weapon." Elias blinked. "Me." The next message flickered. "The Ark's Dominion claims your mutation is a threat to galactic stability." "That seems dramatic," Elias muttered. Hesh's mandibles tightened. "And the Syndicate has placed a bounty on your capture, alive." Elias felt the blood drain from his face. "A bounty." "Yes," Hesh's voice softened slightly, "and not a small one." Elias stared at the glowing messages. His throat tightened. "Why, I didn't do anything." "You survived the impossible," Hesh said quietly, "and the galaxy fears what it cannot explain." Elias didn't respond. He felt empty, like he was losing pieces of himself every time someone called him a threat. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't powerful. He was just Elias, a guy who fixed broken engines and avoided attention. "How long until they arrive?" he finally asked. Hesh hesitated. "One of the factions already has." Elias looked up sharply. "What?" Before Hesh could answer, the station shook violently. Alarms screamed, lights flickered. A deep explosion rumbled through the corridors. Hesh's eyes widened. "That's them." The door slammed open again. A security officer, armor half-burned, gasped for air. "Doctor, they've breached the outer hull. We have multiple boarding teams." Hesh grabbed Elias' arm. "Move now." The officer shouted, "They're cutting through Deck 7. "That's 2 levels below us," Hesh muttered. "We need to reach the evacuation wing." Elias pulled his arm from Hesh's grasp. "Wait, who are they?" As if to answer him, the station shook again. A voice boomed through the intercom. "This is the Keth Collective. Surrender the human anomaly." Elias felt cold all over. They weren't coming for the station. They were coming for him. Hesh grabbed his arm again, stronger this time. "Elias, listen to me. They will not stop, not until they have you." "But why?" "Because your DNA breaks the laws of biology," Hesh snapped. "Because you survived death, because whatever happened inside that reactor." Another explosion ripped through the station, shaking the walls. "It changed you." Elias swallowed hard. He didn't feel changed. He felt terrified. Hesh shoved him toward the emergency exit. "Move." They sprinted down the hallway as smoke poured from vents. Red emergency lights flashed along the ceiling. Armed security teams ran past them, shouting orders, preparing barricades, setting up turrets. Elias heard a soldier yell, "Hold the line, they want the human, do not let them reach him." Hearing that made Elias stop running for just a second. They were dying for him. People he didn't even know. He grabbed a railing to steady himself as guilt stabbed deep into his chest. "I didn't want this," he whispered. Hesh turned, grabbing Elias' shoulder. "No one chooses fate, they survive it." But Elias shook his head. "They're risking their lives because of me." The station shook again. The floor trembled under their feet. "Elias," Hesh snapped. "If the Keth take you, millions could die. They will study you, dissect you, make weapons from your DNA. You must survive. Do you understand?" Elias stared at him breathlessly. Millions. His survival wasn't just about him anymore. It was about everyone. A squad of Keth troops appeared at the far end of the hallway, tall, insect-like creatures with glowing blue armor. Their mandibles clicked as they raised their rifles. "Target detected," one hissed. Elias felt his pulse spike. The troopers charged. Hesh pushed Elias behind him. "Run." Elias tried, but something inside him snapped awake. A pressure, a heat, a spark of instinct. Not panic, not fear, something deeper. Elias turned. The Keth fired. Energy bolts screamed toward him. But Elias lifted his arm. And the bolts slowed. Not completely. Just enough that they missed him by inches. Hesh's jaw dropped. You manipulated the air density," he whispered. "That should be impossible." Elias stared at his own trembling hand. "I didn't mean to." But the Keth didn't care. They charged again. Elias grabbed Hesh and ran, heart pounding, lungs burning, mind spinning. Not because he was weak, but because he finally knew. The galaxy wasn't afraid of what he could do now. The galaxy was afraid of what he might become. Smoke filled the hallway as Elias and Dr. Hesh ran, their footsteps echoing against metal walls that shook with each explosion. Emergency lights flickered overhead like dying stars. The Keth troops were close. Too close. Elias could hear their heavy steps, a fast, insect-like clicking growing sharper behind them. Their armor scraped the ground. Their rifles hummed as they recharged. Hesh dragged Elias into a maintenance stairwell. "In here." They slammed the door shut. Hesh keyed in a manual lock, his hands shaking. Elias leaned against the wall, chest heaving. Sweat ran down his face. His heart felt like it was beating too fast, too strong, as if trying to break out of his ribs. He clutched his shirt. His pulse hurt. "Hesh," he whispered, Something's wrong with me. Hesh looked up, panting. Your DNA is adapting. Every time your life is threatened, your cells change to protect you. That's not possible. No, Hesh corrected sharply. It's not supposed to be possible. Elias swallowed hard. The pressure inside him grew hotter, sharper. His muscles twitched as though someone invisible was rewiring them. That thing with the air, Elias said quietly. I didn't know I could do that. You didn't, Hesh muttered, until you needed to. A loud crash echoed above them. The stairwell vibrated. The Keth were breaking through. Hesh's eyes widened. Elias listened carefully. Your body will respond to danger, but that response is instinctive. You won't always understand it. Elias stared at his hands. They trembled, but not with fear. With energy. I don't want to hurt anyone, he said. Hesh sighed a long, tired sound. Sometimes survival requires it. The stairwell door burst open. A Keth soldier hurled a shock grenade down toward them. Down, Elias shouted, grabbing Hesh and diving. The grenade detonated midair with a blinding flash. Elias braced for pain, for bones twisting and nerves burning. But something strange happened. His skin hardened. A thin, metallic shimmer rippled across his arms and chest. The shockwave hit him like a hurricane, then rolled off him like light bouncing off a mirror. He landed hard, gasping, staring at his own forearms. They were glowing softly, faint silver lines spreading under his skin like veins of liquid metal. Hesh whispered, stunned, "Your body neutralized the blast." Elias didn't answer, because the Keth soldier was already leaping down the stairs, mandibles clicking violently as he aimed his rifle at Elias' face. The soldier fired. Elias moved. He didn't think, didn't plan, didn't hesitate. His hand snapped forward, striking the rifle barrel. The weapon cracked in half. The Keth stumbled back, hissing. Elias surged forward, grabbing the soldier by the chest plate with one hand. His grip tightened, stronger than steel. He threw the soldier up the stairs so hard that the alien slammed into the wall and crumpled. Hesh stared at Elias in complete disbelief. That strength, Elias, that wasn't possible yesterday. Elias wiped sweat from his forehead. It feels like my body is learning faster than my mind. That's exactly what it's doing, Hesh said. Your DNA is evolving to match every threat. Elias' breathing slowed, so every time they come after me, you become harder to kill. Another explosion shook the stairwell. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Elias heard more Keth screams, more boots closing in. He clenched his fists. I don't want to keep fighting, he whispered. Hesh placed a gentle, clawed hand on Elias' shoulder. But you must. If the Keth take you, they will force your evolution. They will push you until you lose yourself. Elias understood. And he hated it. He barely had time to process the fear before the next wave hit. 5 Keth soldiers rushed down from above, blades unfolding from their wrists, mandibles wide. Hesh pulled Elias back. Elias, adapt. I don't know how. You don't need to, your body will. Elias shut his eyes as the first soldier lunged. Fear spiked through him like lightning. Pressure built in his chest. His skin tingled. His muscles tightened like coiled springs. Then, something burst. Heat exploded outward. A shockwave of force, invisible but powerful, threw the Keth soldiers off their feet and slammed them into the opposite wall. They dropped instantly. Elias opened his eyes slowly. The air around him shimmered with faint distortion, like heat waves rising from desert sand. Hesh whispered, incredible. Elias wasn't sure. He looked terrified. What did I just do? Released energy, Hesh said in awe. Your cells converted fear into physical force. Elias shook his head. That shouldn't be real. And yet here we are, Hesh replied. Footsteps echoed from above, many more. Elias' heart hammered. Can I beat them? He whispered. Hesh hesitated. At the rate you're evolving, maybe. But Elias pushed. But if you push too far, too fast, your body might evolve beyond your control. You could lose yourself. Elias looked up the stairwell, at the dozens of shadows approaching from above. Fear crashed through him, but so did resolve. I won't let them take me, Elias said softly, and I won't let them hurt anyone else because of me. Hesh nodded, then we fight. Elias stepped forward, fists clenched, eyes focused, evolution humming in his blood. If the galaxy wanted to test human limits, it was about to learn there weren't any. The stairwell shook as more Keth soldiers stormed down from above. Their shadows stretched across the metal walls like crawling monsters. Elias and Hesh backed down the steps, breath sharp, feet moving fast, adrenaline burning through their veins. Elias kept glancing up the staircase, watching the shadows grow. There are too many, he whispered. Hesh hissed softly. Elias, listen, don't fight them all at once. Retreat, let the station layout work for you. Elias nodded, forcing his lungs to calm. Every breath felt too hot, too heavy. His body hummed with strange energy, not painful, but overwhelming, like every cell was burning with purpose. He didn't have time to think. Only time to survive. The first wave of Keth hit the stairwell like a flood. Their armored limbs clanked loudly. Their blades flashed with lethal blue light. Elias shoved Hesh behind him. I'll hold them. He braced himself. A Keth warrior leaped forward, aiming a blade straight for Elias' neck. Elias inhaled, and his vision sharpened so fast it almost hurt. He saw the path of the blade. He saw the weak spot in the soldier's armor. He saw exactly where he needed to move. His body responded instantly. Elias ducked, twisted, and slammed his fist into the Keth's chest. The armor cracked like brittle glass. The alien flew backward, crashing into two others. Elias blinked. That movement, that precision, he had never been capable of that. Not until now. Another Keth soldier lunged. This one faster, smarter. Elias moved without thinking, his body reacting like it had fought these creatures 100 times. He grabbed the alien's arm, twisted, and used its own momentum to throw it down the stairs. Hesh stared in open shock. You're predicting their attacks, he whispered. Your reflexes are adapting in real time. Elias didn't hear him, because something inside him changed again. His hearing sharpened, too sharp. He could hear the soldiers, claws scraping metal, the hum of their rifles charging, even their rapid breathing. Every sound mapped itself inside his mind. Every threat glowed like a warning light. Another troop descended, firing a burst of plasma bolts. Elias sidestepped so fast he blurred, then leaped over the rifle's barrel, landing behind the Keth and delivering a kick that sent him tumbling down the stairs. But this time, Elias felt the cost. A sharp pain shot up his spine. His muscles throbbed, something inside him twisted like bone reshaping itself. He staggered. Hesh caught him. Elias, what's wrong? Elias clutched his ribs. My body, it's changing too fast. His cells were evolving with every threat, but evolution wasn't painless. And it wasn't clean. More Keth soldiers closed in from above. Another group began climbing up from below. They were surrounded. Hesh cursed under his breath, we're trapped. Elias straightened slowly, ignoring the pain exploding through his nerves. No, he said, voice low, we adapt. The Keth leader stepped into view at the top of the stairwell, taller, stronger, armor marked with bright red symbols of rank. He pointed at Elias. Human anomaly, he hissed, you will come with us. Elias felt anger ignite inside him. I'm not going anywhere with you. The Keth leader raised his fist. Then we break you. Elias' heart slammed against his ribs. His DNA burned. His vision blurred. And suddenly the world slowed. Not stopped, not frozen. Just slower. Elias saw every movement like ripples in thick water. The Keth soldiers charging, Hesh stumbling backward, the flicker of energy on their blades. His brain processed it all at once. Every threat, every angle, every possibility. He stepped forward. One step. And in that single step, his entire body shifted, bones hardening, muscles tightening, nerves firing with perfect timing. He moved like lightning. He grabbed a Keth soldier's wrist, twisted it, and used the alien as a shield against plasma fire. He shoved the body forward, knocking down 3 more. He jumped off the railing, landing behind another soldier and slamming him into the wall. He spun, dodged, countered, struck, every movement faster than the last, every hit sharper. He didn't think. He didn't doubt. He just evolved. When the last Keth soldier collapsed, Elias stood in the center of the stairwell, panting hard, hands trembling. Hesh approached slowly. Elias. Elias didn't answer. He pressed a hand against the wall, leaning for support. His body was shaking violently. Pain rippled through him like fire under the skin. His muscles contracted. His bones felt like they were grinding. Hesh reached for him. Your evolution, it's accelerating too quickly. Elias gritted his teeth. I can't handle it. No, Hesh said firmly. Not like this. Your body is pushing itself far past safe limits. Elias wiped sweat from his brow. I don't have a choice. If I slow down, if I hesitate, they'll take me. They'll take you if you break yourself trying to fight them, Hesh snapped. Elias looked up. His eyes glowed faintly, not from power, but from exhaustion, from pain, from the weight of carrying something he didn't understand. We keep moving, he whispered, before more come. Hesh nodded reluctantly. Then stay close. I'll guide you through the maintenance tunnels. As they descended into the lower decks, Elias felt his cells buzzing, shifting, fighting to stabilize. He didn't know how much more his body could take. But he knew one thing. The Keth weren't trying to kill him. They were trying to capture him alive. Which meant the worst was still coming. And Elias Ward was about to discover how far human evolution could go. And what it would cost him. The maintenance tunnels were dark, narrow, and cold. Pipes rattled overhead, leaking steam into the air like silent ghosts. Elias moved through the tight space with one hand on the wall, breath uneven, his muscles twitching with every step. Hesh stayed close, glancing back every few seconds to check on him. Keep going, Hesh whispered. We're almost under the engineering deck. Elias nodded, but the pain inside him was getting worse, sharper, deeper, unfamiliar. His body felt like it was stretching and compressing at the same time, like every cell was rewriting itself while he walked. He stumbled. Hesh caught his arm quickly. Easy, you're pushing too hard. Elias swallowed. I'm fine. You're not fine, Hesh snapped quietly. Your body is evolving faster than your mind can adjust. You need rest. We don't have time, Elias said. If they catch us, I won't survive. Hesh's voice softened. You will, but only if you stay in control. Elias didn't answer, because he wasn't sure he was in control anymore. The tunnel shook violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Far behind them, muffled explosions echoed, Keth troops forcing their way deeper into the station. Hesh stiffened. They're narrowing the hunt. Elias' jaw tightened. Then we stay ahead of them. They reached a large service hatch. Hesh knelt and began overriding the manual lock. Sparks flew as his claws dug into the console. Elias leaned on a wall, trying to breathe. His senses sharpened again, painfully. He could hear every pipe vibrating. Every footstep 3 corridors away. Every spark from the console. Every heart beating within 100 meters, including Hesh. It all crashed into him at once. Elias clutched his head. It's too much. Hesh turned, alarmed. What's happening? My senses, I can hear everything. That's your DNA, Hesh explained quickly. It's adapting to help you survive, but it can't always filter the input. Make it stop, Elias whispered. Please. Focus on one sound, Hesh instructed. Just one. Elias tried. He closed his eyes and forced himself to isolate a single noise. Hesh's calm, steady breathing. Slowly, painfully, the overwhelming sensations faded into background hum. Elias let out a shaking breath. I hate this. I know, Hesh said softly, but you're handling it better than any being I've ever seen. Now move the hatches open. They climbed up into a large engineering chamber filled with old generators and damaged cables. Sparks lit up the room in small bursts, casting broken shadows across the walls. Hesh moved to check a structural map on the console. Elias scanned the room automatically, his instincts faster than thought. He stiffened. Someone's here. Hesh froze. Where? Elias pointed slowly to a cluster of shadows behind a large generator. Hesh tapped the console, lights flickered on. 3 Keth soldiers stood there, cloaked in refractive armor that bent light around them. Their blades were already drawn. The leader hissed, "Human anomaly detected." Ilias stepped forward, raising his fists. "No," Hesh whispered behind him, "you're too tired." "Too late." The Keth charged. Ilias tried to dodge, but his muscles screamed in pain, reacting half a second too slow. A blade sliced across his upper arm. He gasped as warm blood spilled down his skin. The pain didn't weaken him. It ignited him. Something primal snapped awake inside him, not fear, not instinct, but something older and deeper, survival fury. His vision sharpened instantly. His muscles tightened like coiled steel. His DNA flared with heat. The next time the Keth struck, Ilias was ready. He caught the blade between his palms. The soldier's eyes widened. "Impossible." Ilias crushed the blade, metal cracking under his grip. Another soldier thrust forward. Ilias dodged and smashed his elbow into the alien's jaw, sending him flying across the room. The chamber shook from the impact. Hesh watched in stunned horror. "Ilias, stop, you're pushing too hard." But Ilias didn't hear him. His body moved faster with each beat of his heart. Pain turned to power. Fear turned to sharp focus. Every attack made him stronger. The last Keth soldier roared and leaped. Ilias caught him midair, slammed him into the floor, and knocked him unconscious in one brutal motion. Silence filled the chamber. Ilias stood over the fallen Keth, chest heaving, arms shaking, blood dripping from his wound, yet eyes glowing with raw, dangerous power. He turned slowly toward Hesh. Hesh stepped back, fear flashing across his 4 eyes. "Ilias, you need to stop evolving mid-combat. If you push too far, you could lose your sense of self." Ilias wiped blood from his arm. "I didn't choose this." Hesh nodded. "No, but the way you respond to it, that part is your choice." Ilias closed his eyes. He felt the power inside him, terrifying, overwhelming, addicting. It made him feel invincible, but only while fighting. He suddenly understood. The more danger he faced, the more powerful he became. And the Keth weren't going to stop. A distant rumble shook the floor. Hesh looked at the ceiling. "They're bringing heavy units." Ilias clenched his fists. His voice was low, steady, and filled with new resolve. "Then let them come." He didn't want this power. He didn't want to fight. But he would not let the galaxy decide who he became. This evolution belonged to him, and he would master it. Or die trying. The heavy units arrived like thunder. The floor vibrated, the pipes overhead rattled, dust drifted down in thin, ghostly clouds. Ilias and Hesh stared at each other as the metallic stomping grew louder and louder, like giants walking through the walls. Hesh whispered, voice shaking, "Ilias, those aren't normal soldiers, those are Keth dread units." Ilias swallowed hard. Dread units. "Genetically engineered, cybernetically enhanced, unstoppable killing machines," Hesh said. "And they never retreat." The chamber lights flickered as the metal doors began to glow orange. The dread units were cutting their way in. Ilias felt his pulse spike, not with fear, not with panic. With pressure. His DNA hummed violently, burning under his skin like molten wires. Hesh grabbed his arm. "Ilias, listen to me. Your body is already unstable from the last fight. You need to rest." "I can't," Ilias whispered. "They're coming." "You don't understand. If you evolve too fast, you might lose control of your mind." Ilias looked away. "Maybe that's the price," he said quietly. Hesh's claws tightened on his arm. "No, that is not a price you accept passively. You are still human. You don't give yourself away." Ilias didn't answer. Because the door blew inward. The shockwave hit them like a hurricane. Ilias shielded Hesh with his body as the door crashed to the floor, smoke billowing like a dark storm. Then the dread units stepped inside. 3 of them, each twice the height of a human. Muscles reinforced with black steel. Glowing orange vents pumping heat like fire. Their faces covered by smooth metal masks with no eyes, only a single horizontal slit that burned red. The lead unit spoke with a deep, mechanical growl. "Human anomaly." You will comply. Elias stepped in front of Hesh. He didn't feel brave. He felt cornered. The dread units moved with terrifying speed for something so large. The ground shook with each step. Elias braced himself, fists clenched. His DNA roared in his blood. He didn't need to evolve. He needed to survive. One of the dread units swung a massive metal arm at his head. Elias barely dodged. The blow grazed his shoulder and still sent him skidding across the floor. Pain exploded through him. Hesh shouted Elias, but Elias lifted his head, eyes blazing. He stood. The dread unit charged again, faster this time. Elias ducked under the massive arm and drove his elbow into the creature's side. It was like striking a wall. His bones shook. His arm throbbed. But the dread unit staggered. Elias gasped as something in his body snapped awake, a new adaptation, sharp and hot. His muscles thickened, his stance rooted stronger, his pain faded. He charged the dread unit again. This time when he struck, the metal dented. The creature roared mechanically and slammed its fists down. Elias jumped back, but not fully in time. One blow caught him in the ribs, sending him flying into a support beam. He wheezed, collapsing to one knee. Hesh ran forward. Elias, stop. Your body is overheating. You can't keep evolving like this. Elias forced himself to stand. His skin felt like it was burning. His vision wavered between clarity and blinding white. I don't have a choice, he said, voice trembling. You do, Hesh snapped. You're not a weapon, you're a man, fight like one. Elias almost laughed, a broken, tired sound. What does that even mean now? Hesh looked at him with something deeper than fear, compassion. It means you don't fight to evolve. You evolve because you fight. Elias froze. Because something inside him clicked, something that felt more human than anything else in days. He wasn't a monster adapting blindly. He was a human choosing to survive. He straightened, and the burning inside him focused into something steady. The dread units charged together now, all three at once, a wall of steel and fury. Elias ran. Not away. Toward them. He slid under the first punch, feeling the heat from its vents scorch his cheek. He bounced off a wall, using the momentum to leap onto the second unit's arm. His fingers dug into metal that should have been unbreakable, but this time it cracked. The third dread unit grabbed him by the torso and hurled him across the room like a rag doll. Elias hit the floor hard, coughing blood. His body screamed for rest. His DNA screamed for evolution. His mind screamed for control. He pushed himself up on trembling arms. The dread units aimed their arm cannons at him. Energy gathered in glowing orange spheres. Hesh shouted Elias' move. I can't outrun that, Elias whispered. His DNA surged again. But for the first time, Elias stopped it. No, he whispered inside himself. Not blindly, not without control. He chose his evolution. He forced the adaptation inward, focusing every ounce of energy into reinforcing his chest, spine, and core. The cannons fired. The blast hit Elias like a star exploding. But he did not fall. He did not break. He slid backward across the floor, boots scraping sparks, arms raised as shield, but he stayed upright. The dread units hesitated. Elias lifted his head slowly, smoke rising from his skin, eyes glowing with controlled fire. The lead dread unit took a step back. Elias stepped forward. You made one mistake, he said, voice low. You thought I was done. He launched himself at them with a roar, human, primal, furious, ready to finish what the galaxy had started. The three dread units closed in again, their metal frames glowing orange, their heavy steps shaking the entire chamber. But something had changed. They were no longer confident. They were no longer calm. They were wary. Because the human, the weak, small, breakable human, had just tanked a blast that should have turned him to ash. Elias stood in the center of the room, chest rising and falling slowly, smoke drifting from his skin. His muscles trembled with exhaustion, but his eyes burned with something stronger than any adaptation. Resolve. For the first time, he felt in control. He wasn't evolving out of fear anymore. He was evolving because he chose to fight. The lead dread unit roared, voice metallic and furious. This is impossible. Elias wiped blood from his lip and stepped forward. That's what you said about my DNA, he said, and look how that turned out. The dread unit lunged, swinging a metal arm that could crush steel. Elias dodged narrowly, but this time without desperation. His movements were sharper, more calculated. His body didn't twist wildly, it moved with purpose. Elias grabbed the creature's wrist, muscles screaming, bones straining, and held it. He shouldn't have been able to. But he did. He twisted, metal groaned. Sparks erupted from the mechanical joints. The dread unit staggered. The second unit charged from behind, blades extending from its arms. Hesh shouted, "Elias, behind you." Without turning, Elias jumped high, too high for a normal human, flipping over the incoming blade. He landed behind the unit and punched the back of its neck. The metal dented, then cracked. The unit's lights flickered, then dimmed. The third dread unit grabbed Elias by the waist and slammed him into the floor so hard the ground cracked beneath him. Elias cried out, pain flashed white-hot, his vision fractured. He tasted blood. The unit lifted him again, preparing to smash him a second time. Hesh screamed, "Elias, don't give in, you must choose to adapt." Elias' breath shook. His muscles twitched violently. Every part of his body screamed to evolve blindly. But not this time. He forced himself to stay conscious, to stay human, to stay present. He clenched his teeth. No. The dread unit paused, confused. Elias opened his eyes. They glowed with a focused, steady light. "I'm not done," he whispered. And then he adapted. Not wild. Not uncontrollable. Directed. His spine hardened, his ribs strengthened, his core locked into place like reinforced armor. The dread unit slammed him down again. And Elias didn't break. He bounced back, using the force to twist out of the creature's grip. He landed on his feet, coughing blood but refusing to fall. The unit swung again. Elias met the strike with his forearm, and the metal bent against him. Hesh stared breathless. He's matching their strength. Elias grabbed the unit's arm with both hands, roared, and ripped it clean off. Sparks exploded. The dread unit staggered back, trying to recalibrate. Elias didn't give it the chance. He sprinted faster than he ever had and slammed into the unit with all his weight, driving it into a support pillar. The impact shook the entire chamber. The unit fell, red light fatting from its visor. Only one dread unit remained. The leader. It stepped forward slowly, metal boots thudding against the floor. "You are not a human," it growled. "You are a mistake." Elias spat blood, his body trembled, his knees threatened to collapse. But he lifted his head. "I'm human," he said softly. "You just don't understand what that means." The unit roared and charged, both arms raised. Elias didn't dodge. He sprinted toward it. They collided like two meteorites slamming together. Metal screeched, air exploded outward, the lights flickered violently. Elias grabbed the dread unit's chest plate and pushed with everything he had. His muscles tore and healed at the same time. His bones cracked and reforged. His DNA screamed and evolved. He felt it. He accepted it. He directed it. The dread unit tried to overpower him. It failed. Elias let out a raw, fierce scream and drove the creature backward into the wall hard enough to leave a crater of twisted metal. The unit collapsed. "Silence." Elias stumbled forward and dropped to one knee, gasping, shaking, barely holding himself upright. Hesh ran to him. "Elias, Elias, stay with me." Elias forced a weak smile. "Still here." Hesh's eyes softened, relief, awe, and fear mixing together. You controlled it," Hesh whispered. "You evolved and stayed yourself. That is something even the greatest species could never do." Elias wiped sweat from his face. "So what does that make me?" Hesh looked at him with quiet respect. "It makes you human." Elias laughed tiredly. "Feels like more than that." "No," Hesh corrected. "This is what humanity always was. The galaxy simply never noticed." Elias tried to stand, legs shaking, and Hesh helped him. Outside the chamber, alarms stopped. The station quieted. The Keth assault ended. Word spread across the comm channels. The dread units, the unstoppable, had fallen. To a single human. Elias looked toward the stars through the cracked ceiling. "They're not done," he said softly. "They'll come again." Hesh nodded. "Yes, but next time they'll be afraid." Elias took a shaking step forward, steadying himself. "Good," he murmured. "Let them fear the impossible." Because the impossible had a name now. Elias Ward. Human. Evolving. Unbroken.